Please join me in welcoming Frank Schaeffer.
Hi, thanks for coming out today. I just live up the road here in Salisbury, Massachusetts, so it was a short drive down and a pleasure to be here with you. I'm going to read a little bit from this book, Why I'm an Atheist Who Believes in God. The first thing I'll do is just mention the subtitle is How to Give Love, Create Beauty, and Find Peace. So let me tell you a little bit about why I wrote this book as opposed to some other book or another novel or whatever it might be. I wrote a memoir 7 or 8 years ago called Crazy for God that's kind of tracked my journey that was referred to a little bit in the introduction. I had written a number of novels, and I'd been in Hollywood where I'd made 4 feature films after I left the evangelical world. And I had done everything except address my personal journey away from the religious right, why I left that environment. I had been my dad's sidekick for a while, flown around in Jerry Falwell's jet when the moral majority was getting going. We had been frequenters of the White House when Reagan was there, and Ford, Bush 1, and so forth. So we had been, as a family, very much invested in that. And kind of like Hollywood, the evangelical world has a lot of nepotism in it. And so it seemed natural at the time, although now looking back seems very curious to me, that I was kind of groomed to be my father's successor. I mean, how does that work? Only the British royal family and the mob works that way, but evangelicalism also kind of has that, where the God business becomes kind of a family business. And so when I was 17, 18 years old, I began working with my dad on producing a couple of documentary films, which then went out into the evangelical world. One was called How Should We Then Live, and another, Whatever Happened to the Human Race, that we made with Dr. C. Everett Koop, who then became Ronald Reagan's Surgeon General. And by the time those film series had been presented in nationwide seminar tours, playing auditoriums like the Grand Ole Opry or Madison Square Garden, and large venues like this where we were packing 10, 12, 15,000 people in a night, my dad became a household name, not in the larger world, but in the evangelical ghetto. And I, as his young sidekick, and this is a long time ago, in the late 70s and early 80s, became this kind of person who was going to, put in evangelical terms, receive the mantle of his anointed prophetic ministry, or however they would have put it. One day in the mid-1980s, after he died in 1984, through a series of things that I write about in this memoir, Crazy for God, I came to the conclusion that I had really taken a very drastically wrong step with my life. For one thing, I was turning into a complete asshole at home. I was hating every moment on the road. I had 2 little young children at the time, and realized that I'd been away 6 months of the year, doing God's work, talking all over the place. And also had a real series of spiritual crises where I just simply did not believe what we were saying anymore. And so I really faced a dilemma, because I didn't have any other way to earn a living. I had run away from a British private school where I was in boarding school. I had gone home and become part of my dad's ministry. I painted, and I was showing some paintings and pretty precocious in that field. But nevertheless, this is what I did. And the money was good. There is a lot of money in the God business, in case you're not aware of that. And so I didn't know what would happen here. But in this personal crisis that I write about in Crazy for God, I came to the conclusion that it was really this way, the path out, or sanity. I couldn't do both things. And I couldn't do a marriage and fatherhood and live a life of complete hypocrisy, of gradually drifting away from the core beliefs we were selling, both politically and also religiously.